I've been just contemplating the path, the spiritual path, or the path of life, or the path of this thing that we call awakening. And the past. This thing that we call the past that seems to show up in the present, maybe as a predictor or something of the future, maybe. And how so many people that we encounter, Moda and I encounter in the meetings and stuff, are dealing with what's in the cellar, what's still got a charge, what it means to, if it's possible to drop the baggage, to leave the past somehow where it is without carrying it forward to become an overlay of our fresh experience walking in this world, and what that means, whether it's possible, whether it's preferable, and almost the technology of what it means, because to a certain extent we have to carry some of the functionality of the past over into the present, because we're learning creatures. So we learn by rote when we're young. We learn how to tie our laces. We learn how to ride the bicycle. We learn how to, we learn how to talk. We learn all of these kind of default things. We sort of learn how to navigate the world. And some of those are not, probably, I think, given a preference, they're not things that we would want to throw away. We don't want to suddenly, get to the morning, or maybe we do, I don't know, of awakening, find out that we've awakened and we can't tie our shoelaces because all of the past is gone. We can't speak. We can't navigate the world in a way. So it's you see what I'm saying? It's not as simple as just eradicating the past. So we bring some of it with us. But in amongst that mess, or in amongst that necessary technological or developmental, that's more the appropriate word, developmental appropriateness for us to navigate the world as we mature, there's this other element that we also bring with us that we could call, what do we call it? Influence. Some aspects of the conditioning that have come along, hijacked onto the fundamentals of tying shoelaces, blah, 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 learning speech. There's the sense of self. It's a sense of self that's moved along with through the past, through that which we call the past, into this, the influence, and the influence there, it becomes the influence of parents. What was father like? What was mother like? What were they like with us? What's the ancestral influence that was put to bear on them? What are the wounds that they've carried? And how many of their wounds have they seemingly unconsciously, because usually it's an unconscious mechanism with parents, kind of driven somehow into our energy field, influenced our sense of walking in the world. And when that's painful, when that's traumatic, which it often is, there it is, carried with us in some sort of way. Teachers do the same thing, because teachers in the education system are also involved, not just in giving us the information that we apparently need to surf and navigate this world. There's a training camp involved in most educational institutions. And within those training camps, there's the influence of personality. You show up as somebody who's sensitive, or you show up as somebody who's weak in whatever way that is, and you get somebody who's themselves are developmentally challenged, or they've had their negative influence as a human being, and they show up as a teacher, and there they are, instilling or acting out, projecting their judgments, their unconsciousness. You little Johnny, you're useless. You're never going to be successful in the world. It only takes that for 1 or 2 or 3 occasions, and it's in there as a like little virus that sits with us. We carry that with us. It just needs a bit of reinforcement. Then you've got the religion. If any of us are involved actively, or were involved actively or passively in religion, it's a similar, the same kind of thing happens. Influence. And those kind of patterns live with us. And here we are. We come to the, after years of being assaulted or living with all of those things inside us. Maybe we don't realize it in our 20s. We're acting out some of those things, or becoming an entity in the world. And then, as you get into the 30s, it doesn't always happen this way, but often it does. Into the 30s, things start to unravel a little bit. They stop working. And if we're lucky, we end up on a spiritual path where they really stop working. And you end up on this sort of journey where the whole damn, escapade, the whole damn play, stops working. So it starts seeking something. Now, where does the past fit into that? Is it possible, as I've been watching Krishnamurti, is it possible for us to drop the past? Is that a gradual thing? That's what he was trying to sort out, because he's not really a gradual kind of guy. He's a passionate, instantaneous, a call for totality. So I looked at what I was saying, and I'm a great lover of Krishnamurti. He's a beautiful soul. And I've talked about in the teachings that we've done with the Moda, she's had her sudden awakening, but I've talked more about the gradual path of erosion, the erosive path, the cliff face that eventually, under relentless enough pressure, dissolves into the ocean of being. And it seemed to work for me. But and this is the point really that I'm kind of trying to get to. The ego self is a very dangerous, tricky, mischievous, hijacking kind of thing. And once it gets wind of something like the idea of a gradual path, it says, okay, we've got time. We've got time, because it's built on time, and all it wants is time. All of the ego self wants is time, because as long as it's got time, it's operational. It's operating. It doesn't matter whether it's future time or past time. It's operationalness that it wants. So when it sees you can actually have the gradual path, it actually kind of takes a foot off the immediate pedal. Says it's okay. We can see it somewhere in the future, and we'll work our way towards it. And this, in a kind of put in a modern language, is what Krishnamurti was dissecting. And he eradicated it pretty much. He the gradual path is not an excuse. This is what I'm saying. The gradual path is not an excuse for laziness. Laziness is sort of the idea that we can kind of give it less than the intensity that it deserves, because we've got time and it takes time. And in many ways, the meeting of what arises in us, the meeting of whatever it is that arises within us, whether it's a difficult emotion, a difficult feeling, a thought, an experience, resistance, how ultimately can that be resolved gradually? It can't. It has to be met fully. Everything in our experience is resolved when it's met fully, because that's presence. That's being here, now, in this. And in being here with this, as it turns up, as it shows up, there is no past. There's no past to resolve. Our capacity to be here is what is the measure. And that's not a path, that's a way. It's a different thing from a path. It's an unfolding of life's experience as we walk on it. Now and now and now and now and now, without any sense of success or failure, without any sense that I'll get better next time, or I'm heading somewhere. I'm heading towards, well, when I get better at this, then awakening will happen. I mean, I'm trying to demyth the awakening idea here, because the awakening idea that penetrates our society in us weird awakening seeking people is a myth of a path that up there, if I practice enough up there somewhere, or I get on this, then something is going to happen up there that is going to be better than this. And that's such a tricky thing to get into, because it tends to lower our commitment to just this, because we start measuring just this. Well, I didn't get it right this time, but I'll get it right next time. And we use that as a barometer, as a measure of how much we've got it this time. So it's a tricky number to unravel, but it is surely just this. See, we're sitting here, us five, and we're going to have a moment in about 3 moments' time. We're going to have a moment. Here it comes now. Gone. Where did it go? Where the hell did that go? What happened? What happened to you? My heartbeat raised a little bit. I went, oh God, I thought, oh God, what's happening to me? You know, what is this experiment? What is this social experiment? But then surely it's gone. And the only commitment I had, in fact, the only commitment you had, apart from your imagination, dealt adequately and as well as you could do with the moment that you were in then. That's it. There's nothing you can do about it anymore, is it? Is there? The visceral taste, the visceral sense has actually gone of the moment that you were in, has gone, has vanished. And now it's just lodged in the memory. And see how quickly it could be. Well, I didn't do very well in that exercise that Kavi set for us. I wasn't even here. I was thinking yada, yada, yada. You're just going on and on and on. And I was thinking that, so I didn't get that right. Maybe I could do better next time. If he sets that task, I could be better next time. You see how twisted it gets. How twisted the mind makes things. Because of just the capacity to be so openly naked, openly, nakedly free somehow, without that being a concept, to be able to simply embrace being here as this, in this, with whatever is either, disturbing the field or making the field really beautiful. It's like it's sort of, to the ego, it sounds counterintuitive, sounds dumb. But on a deep level, that's kind of do we have the capacity to meet life in our most honest way? As it is. I mean, I love this investigation. I love the point of this inquiry, because it brings to me personally the capacity, whether I'm always in it or just sometimes in it, or a reminder that I have the choice of it. It brings great relief to me in some sort of way, because it seems to be a little window to the essential truth in an otherwise very murky human experience, where the torment of things, whether they're internal things or whether they're external things, plagues us, plagues me. I don't like this. I don't like that. I wish that wasn't happening. I wish he hadn't done that. I wish this hadn't happened in my past. I wonder what's going to happen in the future. There's a truck outside. It's noisy. I don't like the house. Don't like this. The internet's not working. No, what happened to my music? Am I a failure? Am I going to die? Is my body sick? Oh, that hurts a lot. Stop the puppy from doing endless. And endless. And some of that's it's not that it's negative. It's just that it's only a little part of the picture. And of course, we have to attend to our environment, our outer environment. We have to attend to our inner environment, do the work, to resolve as much as we can. But it's not just in the resolving. It's also in the realizing that we have the capacity to meet life very cleanly. Very cleanly. And that clean is not a, punitive, moral cleanly, as some people like to sort of dish out. It's just the cleanness of showing up like this. Open without any weakness. Present without any force. True without any grandioseness, any pedestal. I mean, to me, if that's something that I can look through, a window that I can look through. It's such a blessing. It's such a sort of grace to even aspire a little bit just to that. Because I know that that's some of those questions are going to be questions that arise for me as I get older, as I get weaker, as I meet death. It could happen any time. So to have lived an existence, you know, where I can have just about have the capacity to allow everything just to be as it is and to meet life as it unfolds. And I'm not saying it's easy. I keep going on about how not easy everything is on the spiritual path, because I know, I do know it's not easy. Having said that, it's not as, you know, maybe not as hard as it's sometimes we imagine. It's like simple, it's subtle. We're not good at subtleties. But the subtle, you know, those you guys who've worked with me, Deborah, I know, you know, sometimes these things, they're like a subtle shift of energy, or a subtle shift of understanding, or subtle little nuance, not a sledgehammer to things. Let those out there be the sledgehammer people. And they're barking always with their opinions and moralities and beliefs, and it's all very, you know, it's very stuck, very rigid mostly. But I don't see that in this with the people that we are drawn to and drawn to us. We see a difference, a subtle, yet really strong, really powerful. It's way of being.